Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure now to be able to evaluate the marathon session of topics that we've had today. It's the longest session I've had, not in terms of necessarily how long it took, but the amount of speakers there were. 12 speakers in all.
Wow.
And word of advice for any future topics chair people is that try and limit the number of speakers, because it does impact on the sort of rest of the evening in terms of evaluations and what have you. Now I'm going to go through all these evaluations. I'll very briefly touch on Bob Wooldridge, our topics chairman. Very good, clear explanation of the whole process, which is very important for all the new people, so they know what the sort of objective of the task was. He spoke very clearly, told all the contenders what they've got to do in terms of creating a mini speech, of introduction, middle, and an end. There was a lot of confusion and sort of stuttering start at the beginning, which Bob explained. There was a mix-up, but I don't want to dwell too much on that. But in future, any sort of topics people, if they sort of come to the lectern, please try and ensure that you can sort of hit the sort of ground running rather than sort of come to the front and then stall the process, which sort of has an impact on the whole sort of event. Starting off with the first speaker, John Bunn, our stand-up comic of the area. Very good, confident approach. Whenever John is up at the front, you're always guaranteed a laugh. For those of you who have not been here before, you're always a guaranteed a laugh. Very anecdotal story, very humorous, excellently converted into a philosophical tale about stability and how instability should sometimes be welcome for a bit of fun in your life. Feedback, talks fast sometimes, so slow down a little, and there's too much movement. So when you're up here, you don't realize yourself that you're necessarily moving too much, but the people who are watching you and listening to you, they tend to pick it up. Next speaker was Jane on the subject of motivated. Very good pace of delivery, good control of hands. Didn't mention the topic, so went into the sort of sorry, I've got my own notes and stuff. Mention the topic. Try not to mention the topic when you come to the front. To try and sort of get into some sort of an introduction. Start talking about just whatever you've got to say. It's always good practice not to say, right, I want to talk about motivation, I want to talk about kettles. Just get on with whatever comes into your mind and create some sort of a story behind it. Also, don't tell people, I've seen the light, I've got to go. If you've seen the light and you've got to go, start wrapping up, because I think it sort of lessens the impact of your own speech. If you sort of, I think it devalues your own speech if you start telling people, look, I've seen the light, my mind's gone blank, and I'm going to go and sit down. Third speaker, Dave Godfrey, had a very slow approach to the lectern, which gave him a lot of time to start thinking what to say. Very good pauses, good facial expression, which adds impact to the speech. Very good voice. Asked very good rhetorical questions, which is sort of addressed himself in a very sort of articulate way. Feedback, variation of pitch would be good. He spoke in a very sort of similar tone without any sort of variety in his pitch. Fourth speaker was David Walker on the subject of character. Very good knowledge of subject, as if he had prepared a speech. I mean what you said. I was just wondering whether Bob gave him the subject beforehand or not. A few brown envelopes of exchange hands with some speakers. Good summary and rounding up towards the end. Good control of hands and gestures is what I've got. Try and skim through this, very conscious of time. Very good overall very good first attempt. David Bryan on the subject of discreetly. Very, very good opening, and the way he approached the front. He's got a very good, powerful voice, but then unfortunately he just went down this. He really struggled with the subject, and it happens to all of us. We've come up to the front, we've been given a subject, and the mind just goes blank. And but I do sort of applaud the way he handled that, the way he sort of laughed with us, the way he sort of handled it and made a joke of it, which I really admired, and I think he handled himself very well. Madeline on subject integrity, got on with the subject straight on, very good clear voice. She just needs to slow down and needs to control her hands a little bit more sort of mindfully, in terms of there's a lot of involuntary sort of movement of hands. I was counting the too many so it's a trait of mine that I've had in the past, where I've slipped in a word in there somewhere in between my sentences, and you don't notice that you're saying it, but obviously people sitting down tend to pick it up. Roger Lynch on the word initiative, very good introduction, good eye contact, spoke to us all, speaking to this part of the room, then came to this part of the room, and there was some very sort of, it seemed like a very good controlled speech, as if he had sort of prepared it beforehand. Very good anecdotal story, good wrapping up towards the end, so giving the speech a structure, starting, middle, and end. Alvin, on the subject of enviable, grabbed the lectern. I don't know whether that was for support, because he thought he was going to fall down, but he handled himself very well. Did not falter at all, so sort of said what he wanted to say quite fluently. Very warm smile, which helped him to connect with the audience. There was some sort of distraction of bodily movement, which again he may not sort of be aware of, but it's obvious when you're sort of observing him. Tom Miller on the subject of respite, very clever approach, didn't know what the subject was, so I decided to throw it on the audience and get some feedback from them. Don't tell the audience that you don't understand what it means. Just say, look, I want to hear about your understanding of, do you understand by the word respite? And then that would give you ammunition to sort of start your sort of subject. But you give it away, and as I said earlier, it devalues your sort of speech if you just tell them, you know, I don't know, what shall I say? So you could have quite cleverly disguised that. Very good rapport with the audience, good composure. Moving on to Ben on the word of impressive. When he actually stood here and I said, I have a morbid fear of public speaking, I was like, I can't see that. You came across very, very confidently. And okay, it was very short, but it was a very good first attempt. If you do have a morbid fear of public speaking, I can assure you didn't show it. Moving on to Dina, again a very short first time attempt on the word tradition, anecdotal story. All I would say is well done, a very, very good sort of attempt and start for a first topic. Anjola, very good pace, message was very powerful. I really sort of got sort of drawn into into Anjola's speech, because there was a message there, as if he was meaning what he was saying, and I was quite impressed. Feedback, just need to speak a little bit more louder, because I did struggle at the beginning to sort of hear the speech when Anjola first came on the stage. So a very, very good attempt. I'm going to round up now, scanning through all these speakers. As I said, it was a marathon session, and very, very well done. A record number of new visitors coming to speak for the first time. That's the most interesting aspect of the whole session. And I have to award a trophy, if there is a trophy available.
It isn't, but you can still...
It's a virtual one, so okay. Right, ladies and gentlemen, here it is. For the winner...
No.
Oh!
It is here.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Okay. The person that impressed the most, again I said it was well done on all the participants, but if I've got to award a trophy today, Roger Lynch. Well done.